Welcome to the next episode of Conscious Physician, Medicine and Psychedelics podcast. We have the pleasure of having Dr. Charlie Powell here with us today. It's so nice to meet you, Charlie.
Pleasure to meet you too.
Yeah, welcome. Tell us about you.
Oh, all right. So, here's the way I introduce myself now, and you're one of the few people that will understand this, and anybody will tell you I don't typically do this intro in the podcast, but I'm what's left of the former Dr. Charlie Powell. Right. All right. I'll go back. I had the pleasure of reading your story and a lot of the stuff you've been through in life and what got you here, because that always interests me when I see people that have been through trauma. I like to look for the patterns, the things that are there, and just like, yeah, your story was amazing. And so mine was, about 18 years old. I went off to college, and my parents couldn't sustain it for very long. So I knew I needed to figure out a way to pay for it myself. And I was an engineering curriculum for a while, but I had to join the Army and use the GI Bill to pay for college. So I didn't mind. Father was Air Force. I was looking forward to the opportunity to do something different. So anyway, I figured, hey, how safe can it be, right? I mean, we haven't had a war in a long time, and what's going to happen here? Well, that was in 98, into 1988. And so 1989, I entered basic training, went in, became a combat medic. And the day I graduated as a combat medic in Fort Sam, Houston, was the day Operation Desert Shield became Operation Desert Storm. Yeah. So, you learn real quick. Okay, this is why they give out the GI Bill, but that's fine. I loved my time in the military. Let me be clear about this. I'm going to tell you, I don't love some of the things that happened or were done, but there were elements about it that I loved, and I still have immense respect for. And the fact that this is the largest employer in the world that has a system that functions as well as it does and creates a culture so incredibly strong through their teamwork and initiatives and basic training. Everything is down to almost a human behavior science of forging a culture that at the end of 8 weeks of basic training would have given my life for those guys I was with. I had people I knew my whole life. I wouldn't do that, right? And so I have a lot of respect for anybody that can create a culture that has any obligation for service, like a GI Bill or the things that people stay in, making pay significantly less a lot of times, if not most of the time, than what they could do on the civilian side. But they stay in because there's an economy outside of a paycheck. There's camaraderie. There's learned a lot of great leadership skills. I had a lot of great opportunities, and those opportunities continued for me. So I went to undergrad, went biomedical engineering, switched over to pre-med, and then I wound up getting a scholarship to medical school under the Navy, switched to the Navy, had a great career there. Originally went into family medicine. Then I went back and did ER trauma, a lot of trauma work in the ER. And then went back after I got out years later, went into cosmetics. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And I get the sense you've got a lot of the same, right? So I spent 16 years left in 2005, just 4 years before a pension, one more duty station would have done it. But, Afghanistan was about that time. So I bookended my career with the conflicts. And I didn't mind. I liked high adrenaline work. I enjoyed taking care of people. I enjoyed being trained to take care of a lot of people. And that was the beauty of military training in medicine too. There were no competitive residencies. There was nobody out there going, "Oh, that's my procedure and that's not yours." And, "Oh, we don't teach you that because that's our bread and butter." No, they would teach us anything we wanted. So anyway, it came out in 2005. I landed with a small practice in Dallas, Texas that wasn't from there, had no family there, but it was kind of close to home in Shreveport, Louisiana. And I landed with a practice that I really enjoyed their ingenuity. I enjoyed the fact that they wanted to build everything around the physicians to make them successful rather than having to leverage and support hospital systems and everything, right? And I loved it. It was a small practice. I wound up buying it in 2007, bought into it. And then about 2007 to 2000, 3 years ago, I built it into a healthcare system in North Texas. And successfully exited that 3 years ago when I sold to United Healthcare. In that interim, around 2007 is when my PTSD symptoms started to really get to a level that I had to pay attention to, right? And I'm sure you've experienced it. Other people, I'm sure your listeners have experienced it. You sometimes get misclassified as a depression, anxiety, insomnia. There's a lot of things you think it is. So I just leveraged every bit of credit and debt and sold everything I could to buy that practice. I thought that's what it was. But then I realized when the night terrors started, I'm like, this is something else. I suffered from sleep paralysis since I was a kid on occasion. So that coupled with night terrors wasn't good, but the isolation, the irritability, withdrawal of medication with alcohol, whatever. It didn't take long. I was on antidepressants for a short while, SSRIs, and man, they just depersonalized me, and they had other side effects that were like, said, now what else? SNRIs. Okay, no, what else? Finally landed on bupropion, and did okay on that. Kind of gave you a little energy, even, and it seemed to settle it down enough that I was still highly functional. But then the insomnia was just unbearable. So, going to the VA, seeing the providers, I was enough on Ambien. After amitriptyline was just too much, it was just wiping me out during the day. Medicine, right? One thing after another. I had nerve damage in my left leg shortly after the first Gulf War from a back injury. So pretty bad neuropathy on that, neuropathic pain. And they finally had to move me to gabapentin, which just dumbs you up. Great. Lyrica eventually. And then hydrocodone. 15 years. And as a physician that preaches only a last ditch resort, like this is not meant for a long term, to know that was my only option at that time. And that slew of medicines that I was on, I was functional, but I was miserable. Anyway, when I sold in about 3 years ago, I think a lot like you. My story's not typical, yours isn't, but I choose not to be common, right? You do too. That choice for me is not just my career and my personality. I at age 50, I went and got a piece of artwork that covers almost half my body, right? And I tell that story because through that process of getting the hundreds of hours it took to go through this, COVID hit. And so there was a lot of time with my artist and I. We got very good, strong friendship from it. And I told him stuff that I haven't told a lot of people, right? When you suffer from PTSD or any kind of mental health in this country, which is viewed as a secondary issue, which we can talk all about that, you don't tell people the whole story. You maybe get bits and pieces here and there, but no one had it all together, including my wife at the time. It got to the point where my tattoo artist one day, he saw me come back from a guy's trip that we would take every year to Key West. And he was just like, you look like shit. Yeah, I feel like shit. He goes, you all right? I'm like, nope. And to be able to be that open about it with somebody, right? Nope, I'm not. I had literally just hit the darkest time in my life. Now, Leah, think about it this way. I started off humble upbringing. My parents gave me the most valuable thing in the world, which is not money. It is core values. It is priorities. It is decision making. It's pointing your compass northward, north on your kids, right? And I had the American dream, though, right? You have an opportunity. You can get out there. You can make it for yourself. And I did. I did everything I was supposed to do. And there I was at the end of that process of a very long due diligence process, right at the end of COVID. I got COVID for the first time in 3 years at the end of COVID, and had long haulers for a little bit after that. And my American dream was a nightmare. It sucked. I had the houses, I had the trips, I had the vehicles, I had the house. I mean, it's just most unhappy I'd ever been. So anyway, when he talked to me about that on that trip, he just goes, have you heard of psychedelic medicine? And I said, I don't think the two words are supposed to be glued together, but let's talk about it. I said, but and he knew I was very open-minded, especially in a lot of the studies related to THC and some of the advances with that. And I listened and had a bad experience with psychedelics when I was 18. I had a quote friend cut up a 10 block of LSD and put it in the mustard of the corn dog I was eating. So not wanted, no intent, and not recreational because I didn't ask for it. It was misery, right? So had not gone anywhere even thinking about it, but he sparked my interest. I looked into ayahuasca. I looked into ibogaine. Felt ibogaine calling me pretty loud.
Wow.
When I say that, you know what I mean, but it's like it kept showing up. Oh, that's interesting. And somebody else is talking about it. And that was my direction. I've been able to follow gravity since well before psychedelics. And I just didn't trust it anymore. I didn't trust my feelings pulling me certain directions. And you know how it is when they're tangled. Finally, in April of 23, I found a center down in Mexico. And in August, after preparing for 4 months, not one or two visits with a psychologist, I spent time. I read. I dug into it. But honestly, I also went into it with a mindset that if this doesn't work, if it makes me crazy, if I have a heart arrhythmia and I die, okay, that's where it was, right? And it proved to be the best decision I've ever made in my life. And I say that after a lot of thought and intent with that, right? Because in that 10 days I was at that center, I was given the best advice as I got off the phone with my psychologist they assigned to me. I said, anything else? We've talked about a million things. I hired you for extra visits. I wanted detail. He goes, man, you're ready. Like, I've never seen anybody so ready. He goes, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. One thing. I'm getting off. I was like, what? He goes, say yes. Just say yes. I went, all right, well, okay, stop. What do you mean? He was like, in the experience, if anything comes at you that you don't want to see or it's difficult or you're asked if you want to see, just say yes because it's not there to hurt you. It's there to get you through something. You'll understand. I'd understand with ayahuasca, certainly. It'll be difficult times like, do you want to see your death or do you want to experience death? But I hadn't had those reports from Ibogaine. So I just, okay. And when I walked into that treatment center, which by the way was really for opiate addiction, not for PTSD, because there weren't a lot of places, even at that time, I said, I'm just going to say yes to everything. And so I walked into this treatment center. I'm like, holy shit, I'm getting a full pat down. Like they're checking for, contraband here. This is, hey, I say, yeah, yeah. And I remember, well, we're about to do sound therapy. Would you like to go do sound therapy? I know you're still checking in. I went, yes, let's go do sound therapy. Do you like to do Qigong next? I'm like, what's that? We reach up, we grab the chi, we put it into our heart. I'm like, your heart's a little higher, but yes, let's go. And in that, I had the Ibogaine experience as well. But all those other things that were there, the meditation training, the ice plunges, everything was there to give me tools to help regulate once I went back to the real world and kept on building and growing. So my experience was legendary. I don't talk about it in detail because I feel like when I do that, people expect theirs to be like that. So I will simply tell you this. What I thought were my traumas were not my traumas. I'd already dealt with them. And what I was shown weren't necessarily what most people would call traumas, but maybe some important things in life that happened to me that I didn't quite catch the lesson life was trying to give me. I was able to see it clearly and understand it this time. And I'll tell a couple of those stories if you want them, but I came out of that other side 10 hours later, 12 hours later, realized it's probably not a good idea next time to wear white sweatpants to an Ibogaine experience. And I, I was at peace. I had a linchpin moment I'll tell you about that has a lot more detail to it, but I'm going to give you the high level version of it. But I was in a bit of a loop, kept seeing the same thing over and over again. I was working at ER trauma level 1 and kept seeing this case come in, which the detail will grab your heart even more. But the basic sense of it was a murder suicide. Year-old man, 30, 40-year-old woman, and man was dead. The woman was dying. She was starting to herniate. You could see the blood on CT. Neurosurgery was on their way in, and she would not consent for surgery. And I figured she was the one that pulled the trigger, but no. Short story of it all, that other person was her father, who had been raping her since she was 7 years old. And she just wanted somebody to hear her story in case she didn't make it through the other side. And I agreed. Like, tell me. And she told me her story. That man had been raping her since 7. He was actually a minister at a fairly large church in that area. And it was a different man when he came in the room. It was not him. His eyes were different. Everything was different. And as she got old enough, she knew she had an option, she had a choice. The victim role she was in, but this isn't him. This isn't his fault. And this keeps him from probably doing it to other people. I mean, she explained all of that, right? Not justifying, just explain. And she kept calling him one of the greatest men she'd ever met. I had a hard time with it. But anyway, she gets to the end of it. Turns out she's never told her mom. She worked at the same church he did just to keep an eye on him. Never happened to anybody else. She swears on everything that she's worth. Her own husband didn't know about it. But he came in the room that day and was about to happen again. Instead, he pulled out a gun, shot her. When she came into consciousness, he had shot himself. Anyway, poor story. I went to the waiting room to deliver the news to the family, and she left me with a task. If I don't make it through this, you need to decide if my mother and my husband should know. Yeah, right?
It's a light task.
It is. But we do a lot of that in medicine, right? We just take things on. We just do it because we were built tough to do it, we think. And anyway, so as I went to the waiting room, I really did. I mean, it was full of people from their ministry talking about the great things that he had done. Oh my God, that helped me with alcoholism when I was homeless, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I heard at least 3 distinct stories walking through until I found the husband and the mother. I said, look, I'm talking to myself, you don't even know if that's true. You don't know what reality was coming through her head and perception of the past with a distorted brain. She was stroking right in front of you, could barely talk. This is a matter for police. This is not a matter for medicine. And I decided not to. My justification was if the two people in this world this affected most are both gone, everybody else is left with not quite understanding that very end. They're meant to figure it out. It probably wasn't for me. So I didn't tell them. Told them they both passed in peace, which they did. Bloop, 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 bloop. I figured it was because I didn't tell anybody. I stayed there for 6 more months watching the news. I even called the mother before I left that station and said, I don't know if you remember me, right? But your docs never call us. I'm like, yeah, but as this one does. We got a new minister. Things are great. We still don't understand what happened, but you know what? We're going to be all right. So told two people that story in my life, my ex-wife and very good friend of mine, Barney, who actually helped me with the movie that we did. But my loop on that was, I guess I should have told him. Some people have a guide in their experience. This guy had a guide. Okay. So I've tried something more aggressive for treatment. Should I try to save the father? I run through everything, right? Keep in the loop. Finally, I hear a voice in my head say, ask to see it a different way. You see it a different way. And so at this point, this was so interesting. My guide goes, okay. And I listened. And that time between her consenting for surgery verbally and 5 minutes later, she passed. I listened versus trying to remember everything else. What was in the room? It was a big surprise when I realized I missed her last 3 words. It was mumbling. He was stroking. It was muddled, but I heard them. I didn't just hear them. I could listen to them this time. I thought she was just struggling, but no, her last 3 words were basically, I forgive him. And in that moment, I had this linchpin experience, just like
Wow.
the people in my life that I just burnt bridges on, done with you, done, bye, boom. And in that moment, I learned that forgiveness isn't about just letting go of blame or responsibility. It's a whole different level of forgiveness. This one's tough, being grateful for it, right? And I just had somebody I was counseling yesterday, and she was telling me about this attorney screwed her, their manager screwed her, blah, 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 blah. Tomorrow morning in your gratitude, I want you to be grateful for it. And that's tough, right? Anyway, so
Wow.
I came out of that and I just floated around that pool doing
Mm,
Watsu, Qigong, and these
mm,
plunges and said, you know what? I don't know if I'm going back to work. Anyway, went to one meeting at this, at United Healthcare and sat for maybe 45 minutes, saw people miserable around that room. Sad that I brought half of them there. Got up and I walked out. Never
mm,
went back. And so I have a 21-year-old special needs son. Turns 21 next week. Only kid in the world ever like him at all time with an unbalanced chromosomal translocation, 7 to 11. And he's been one of the biggest blessings in my life. He has taught me more about life than I'll ever teach him. And I truly believe he's kind of like an oracle for me and there to help guide me. Because when I came out the other side, I decided, all right, 54 years old, career change. Who does that, right? You're in medicine so long. You train so hard for it. You work so hard for it. You typically don't give it up till the end. And instead, like you did a pivot, I'm sure I did the pivot and left medicine altogether. And I left more than that. I walked away from everything. I walked away from a toxic marriage. I
mm,
walked away from my career. I walked away from my job. I walked away from my country. I moved to Mexico and I sat there for 2 months rebuilding me. Got rid of the things that didn't serve me anymore and politely excused them from my life, including the parts of me that needed to be rebuilt for the next step, which was decided to open a resort. So with my winnings on the game show of life, the Powell game show of life, as I call them, I just said, I'm going to open a resort for special needs families. St. Charlie Resorts is not named after me. I am not the saint. That's the son, right? Our first location will be open up next summer and 7 more to come after. And so that's been awesome. But
congratulations.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But what was interesting is in that time, I can't say I was upset or angry. It just didn't have that in me anymore. It was more dismay of why were we never trained about this? Why do we see all of these modalities as being, ugh, well, because we have freaking Western medicine egos that get in there and tell us if it's good, we got it. And let me tell you, I had all the technology. I had imaging centers, I had therapy centers, we built it all with the best technology for our doctors to utilize. So you assume that excellence is somewhere across the board, but there's some things that technology just can't get to because technology didn't cause the problem. And, you finally realize, especially in behavioral medicine, that we're we're diagnosing symptoms. We're treating symptoms. Great. Well, maybe go get some counseling too. Yeah. Come back for your refills. 12 years later, what are you doing on Zoloft? I don't know. What happened after my divorce? Okay. But you get to a point where it's just felt like I had to do something to give back, make it aware, just like you're doing, right? And the hell was I on that handful of medicines for 18 years that I would have to plan my trips, my vacations, my refills. Hate it. My own wife did not know that I was on hydrocodone for 15 years. I was ashamed of it because probably part of me knew. I think the answer is just getting you there, right? So I didn't want to open treatment centers. There's enough people doing that. Some are doing great, some are too money oriented. That's another story. And I wanted to learn about it. So I spent a lot of time learning about the different disciplines, psychedelic medicine in general, the roots of the spiritual side of it, because I was reconnected spiritually for the first time in a long time. When your feelings are tangled like that and you're so worried about a trigger setting off your mind field, you either let it set off and everybody sees it, or you dial down the sensitivity, saying, I'm just not going to feel anything. That's not the answer. The answer is the feelings are there for a reason. Feelings are there as a higher form of communication than vocalization of thought can ever give. And yet, kind of trained to say they're primitive, ignore them, push them down. You're too sensitive. But when you truly untangle those things, when you start untangling your triggers to, I know what that's from now, deal with it. I began giving me a pause button that I would sense it, go, what's this from? Nope, it's not in relative measure to what the situation is. So there's a problem. Got it. Done. Defuse trigger after trigger after trigger in the work. And you finally realize it's like, if you ever listen to a radio, remember the old radios that would have the dials on them, where you have not digital, but you have to dial in the station, right? We just dated ourselves big time. You know that. But you're getting static, right? And you're just like, man, this radio sucks. I like that song, but this radio sucks. And for me, to use that analogy, that kind of came back like, well, guess what? You were on 96.0, not 96.1. Dial into the frequency right. And when you do, and that static's gone, you can turn that music up, right? In short, and I'm telling you about the project that came out of this. It's really cool. 18 years, I felt like I was swimming upstream with two anchors around my neck. I pushed situations, I pushed things to success instead of sitting there and listening to what life was trying to tell me. And a lot of times, it's not telling you not to go in that direction. It might be telling you to go bigger, go different, but listen. When things happen, when things come at you, you either have a lesson to learn from it or you need to go a different direction. And when you have the clarity to feel that, to understand it, you can get through a lot. I've done more in the last 2 years than I've done in my lifetime. I'm on my ninth company in the last 2 years, all centered around special needs and veterans, movie studio. Just lots of stuff. And I'm like, how is this happening? That the right people at the right time are showing up in my life. And one of my coaches, Natalie, who's actually in the movie, she was my coach. She was the first person I sat down with when I got to that treatment center. She's the first person in this world that I was ever completely 100% transparent with and told her everything. She's about 30 years old, right? But I'm sitting here going, this individual had the emotional intelligence and the know-how to go with non-judgment at all. Just go, it's okay. You'll be all right. We learned a lot from veterans, being one myself, but looking at the pattern for what causes a lot higher rates of PTSD. And it's not just combat and war. As you know, Levine says, having the right tools in the right time, right place, it's too sick, something gets you too soon, too much, or too early, right? And I would argue that in the military, we're given some decent tools to handle, but trauma is everywhere. May not be the SM5 of PTSD diagnosis, but it's there. I really set back when I tried to decide, how can I help this space? And I got an idea one day. It was silly. I was on a plane. I looked at my wife at the time. I just said, I'm going to make a television show or a movie. I don't know. She goes, what? Yeah, I'm feeling it. That's the vibration of truth right there. I feel it. She was like, what are you talking about? I said, you've got lawmakers on the left and the right about something they have in common finally that they're not arguing about.
Yes.
Oh, they can come together on this shit, but they still can't get it passed. Where's the problem? Well, it's not around the counterculture stigma. And I think you already know where it is. We won't have to go there today, but there's bigger things that we're up against. And I figured those bigger things that this is up against really has a lot to do with public perception, public knowledge. And I figured the best way to do that, I could tell my story a million times, record it, put it on YouTube, whatever. Thought about it. That's just one person. Right? Decided to put my money where my mouth was. He was going to do a pilot. Okay, time out. When I detached, I almost got off my side. I didn't check emails, nothing, but for something got me on that phone at 3 a.m. when I woke up in the middle of the night and turned on Facebook, which I had not done in weeks or a month. And I got on, I saw this guy, Ryan, who's the son of one of my patients, that followed him after he got medically discharged for TBI. He was hit by a AED. He was a dog handler for the bomb squad. And I could just see it in his eyes, right? So I followed him, and he was Facebook Live, 3 in the morning. He basically just pulled the gun out of his mouth for the second time. Said, I don't know why I'm doing this, but somebody's got to help me. This big burly man is crying and sobbing, right? I'm like, and there it is. So I was viewer 1 of 1. Called him the next day. He thought I was trying to get in touch with his dad. I'm like, no, man, I'm here for you. Talked, told him about what I'd been through. He was like, man, that sounds like exactly what I need. Told him how much it was. He was like, yeah, I can't afford that. I was like, Brian, it's on me. He goes, stop. I said, it's Charlie. And I'm thinking between your mom, your dad, and your grandma, they put one of my kids through school. So we're okay here. He laughed. And I said, I'm going to do this for you. And it wasn't until later I thought of it. So when I reached out to him, he was like, originally he was just like, no. I want my kids knowing what I did, what I've seen. Day later, he calls back because I said, hey, do you mind if I document it? Just get a GoPro, watch your experience, seeing that before and after. I think it tells a great story. And hey, who knows? Maybe somebody picks it up in a pilot and it becomes something bigger. Tell me that next day and he read. He goes, if this helps one other person, it's worth it. So I was going to do a pilot of a male-female, combat female rape on active duty. That's sad to say, fairly common in the military. And the cover-ups, they exist. Mission first kind of thing, right? I wanted to show that PTSD is not a diagnosis of special forces, of even war. And that case really did it. Well, unfortunately, she had to drop out because her mother went on to hospice. And I went searching for somebody to replace, and instead I found 5 others. Here we go. What? So we're taking all 5. We're taking all 6. So the movie is called Healing Heroes, No Mind Left Behind. And we take a journey. I took over a year to film this, but I go and I visit their inner circle, family and friends. And I talk about who were they when they were younger? What were they when they came home? Then I interview them. What conversations weren't happening? Well, the family sees it. They just don't want to say anything because they know they're already struggling and they've sacrificed so much. The individual doesn't want to tell them because no one wants to know how broken we are up here because there's a stigma about it. And we're trying to be the person that we're supposed to be. We think people are supposed to be. So documented that for them. Took them down to Tulum, Mexico, where I took down a boutique resort, had a care team come in, complete program just designed for veterans with some of the specifics I felt like they needed to. And we put them through a 10-day process. I'm assuming we have a aligned mindset. Yeah, like most, I feel like the medicine's maybe 20% at most of the healing. It can open doors, it can show you things, but there's still the work to be done with it. So we did that work. Taught them the basics of life. What are core values? No, what are your core values? How do you define yourself? How to be an individual? How to have priorities? How to understand and have some emotional intelligence, right? We did that with intentions for their healing for psychedelics. And Lida, I'm going to ask you this. How many days do you think in your career of active practice in medicine before you got into this, did you just come home going, holy shit, I made a huge difference today? Right? What about 10 days back to back? You watch a person transform before your eyes and heal and laugh and dance and holy cow, how we had it wrong. So anyway, the movie's great. So besides just that, a month after they go home, we went back and re-interviewed US tour number 2. And then that's really the part of the movie that you would think would be the biggest challenge, the low point would be them going into treatment. Oh, a challenge it's not. It's when they leave treatment, when they go home. And now they have to engage skill sets that if they go into a rut again, they know how to climb out. But here's how you keep from getting in it. Here's how you stay in your daily practice. Here's why gratitude is so important. Forgiveness, connection, loving yourself. Anyway, so I followed them for a year. And this last July, we all convened in Austin, Texas for the final day of filming, bringing them all back together, right? So I've talked way too much because I want to get you in on this. I'm going to shut up for a minute. So, sorry for the
I
long
love
version, but
this.
that's what you got.
I love it. I love it. Yes.
Yeah, that's my story.
Phenomenal. What is the name of your film?
So it's Healing Heroes, No Mind Left Behind, healingheroes.com. I mean, people can go see about it. Okay, so here's a perfect example of a new way of thinking. A lot of things came in that were challenges. Flying to Tulum, all these people on the way, camera crews there. Hurricane Alberto decided it wanted to hit Tulum at the same time.
Oh, man.
That was June of 24, sorry. And so I remember everybody calling going, we got to cancel, we got to move, we got to evacuate. I'm like, nope, trust my gut on this. Nope. These people have been waiting way too long. You can tell the camera crew to go, get all your stuff, go. I am putting these 6 through and the healers are staying because we got food, we got equipment, we got generators. We're fine. And what it turned out, though, was it was a beautiful part of the movie because in the background, the howling winds, the rain, and during their darkest time, right? And then the halfway point, skies are starting to clear. And I told the crew, I was like, we're going to have some of the best sunrises you have ever seen in your life in a few days. And that's going to mark the end of their treatment. Now, this was completely unplanned. Well, wait, say that. Let me back that up. This was not planned by this version of me in this reality. Let's just say that, right? Something higher did this because before I did US tour number 1, I just thought of this. I asked all the participants a question. I said, if you were, they had a box of 128 crayons and you were painting a landscape for your teacher, yourself, your parents, what would the sky look like in that when you were a kid? Blue skies, birds, clouds. Hell yeah. What would it have been like when you came home? Black, just dark, thunderstorms. And I'm like, okay. So I asked them that question. That kind of matched the environment, right? Turned out to really match it. I just realized that. Well, I asked them the final question after they'd been through it down there. And I said, what do the skies look like now in that picture? And blue, partly cloudy and clearing. And Keegan's more colors than I can describe because I've been too caught up in the past to see them, right? And that next morning, that sunrise was so freaking amazing. I'm sitting there going, we couldn't have planned something like this with all the intricate details of movie making, of scripting. It was exactly what it needed to be, right? But so since then, I've wanted the scene to come out sometime just after first year in 25. Delays. Okay. The past, I would have pushed it. I would have pushed harder. Stop getting the delays, stay to your timeline, get this edited. But we're supposed to have May of this year for Memorial Day. Didn't hit again. Still wasn't where it needed to be. And everybody's like, are you okay with this? Like, there's people dying out there that could benefit from this. And we had a major streamer with the first initial of A, that narrows it down to 2. Very interested. But I wanted impact subscription. I thought about letting it live on YouTube. And I'm like, but that's a big audience that's not going to engage with it. So anyway, I kept going. And then I met somebody named Cody Lee. Now, Cody Lee's from the special needs space. If the name sounds familiar to any of your listeners or yourself, he won America's Got Talent in 2019. Blind and autistic, severely autistic, right? If you talk to him, it's like, uncanny. You hear him sing, and man, you just know there's a whole nother level of feeling, and you can feel him sing, right? And so anyway, when they came down to meet me about the resort stuff, I said we'd love to collaborate. And that his mom played me a song that Cody had recorded like 6 months earlier. So like, this is our favorite song that he has ever made. And I normally release this stuff immediately, but for some reason we sat on this, and I think I know why. I think it's yours. Like, I listened to it and I got chills. I'm getting choked up at the dinner table with all my people there, right? And I'm like, where did he learn this? Where did he learn the feeling of this, right? Anyway, long story short, Cody was so excited about us putting it in the movie, he wrote 2 more that were perfect. They fit so perfect that I'm like, I just start laughing because you're like, how long have I done it wrong, right? How long have I done it wrong? But what it added, the elements that added to it were just perfect. It brings the emotion to it. It brings the attention to it. Allowed me time to do a couple additional shots because I shot the final scene to the movie just a couple months ago that didn't come to me until it came to me. And here's what I'll put out for you. I'll give you a spoiler on this one, right?
Yes.
All right. So final scene in the movie after they've gone through their healing is me in the desert. Call it the March into the Desert. And I bring up, on September 11th, 2001, we lost nearly 3,000 souls when our homeland was attacked. From that, as a country, it's a nation, we came together, solidarity, we united, we promised to never forget, and we waged war on terror. On the battlefield, so at that point, I take 3 steps into the desert. For every 1,000 lives lost, I take a step. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Draw a line in the sand, put a white rose down, salute it, come back. Come back, and I say, now, we lost 7,000 U.S. military on the battlefield. I take a step for each of you, 1,000 of you, count out to 7,000. Put a rose down, give them a salute. Then I come back and I go, this next march is to remind you that we forgot. I'm going to take 1 step for every 1,000 veterans that have taken their life since 2001. And I took 183 steps into the desert. That was a walk. And it was hot. That's the impactful end to it, right? And again, I say it because a little teaser, but also too that I didn't have all of that in May. And You just had to let it fall into place, right? Now I've got multiple streamers, network. I mean, I've got big time interest in it that, you know, I feel strongly this is going to help some people. And I, um, I thought I was just going to do this one movie and move on. But in it all, you realize that there's a commonality in Western society. We have 7 to 8 times the amount of mental health problems that third world countries do. Why? Oh, it's because we're diagnosing it more. We have more physicians. We're looking for it. Bullshit. It's because have gotten too easy. So easy that we don't need each other anymore.
Mm.
We don't know our neighbors. We don't say hi at the grocery store except my son, everybody, right?
That's it.
That's it, right? You got to talk. You got to interact. You got to get that connection, and it's got to be there. It's got to be used. So loss of community is one that veterans suffer from because when they leave the military, that's the final trauma. That is something I heard Admiral say once. If people just didn't leave the military, PTSD wouldn't be half the problem it is. So we leave 4 branches of service and go to 18 million individual branches that why do we fall? Well, it's not just veterans, everybody. It's our society. Second thing that impacts veterans, loss of purpose. I'm not going to say I didn't have a purpose before this. I did. You did. We took care of people. We wanted to help. We wanted to heal. Kind of learn some things. You're like, oh, all right, purpose slightly redefined. Oh, big time redefined. And we've got to start doing things that build community. We've got to do things that start building purpose. And we've got to stop considering mental health a secondary because you and your listeners well know this body we're in, it is a vessel to carry the mind to the experiences of life that we are very privileged to have and here for and should be having to its fullest. We can take care of so much here. Preventative, everything else. What are we doing here?
We're spiritual beings in a
Yes.
human experience.
Thank you. And you hear that word spiritual, and so many people think religion, right? Such a difference. I hope I don't offend any listener with this. But in some senses, some senses, religion has kind of tainted spirituality. Religions have caused division. I mean, hell, the three main religions are a family feud at one level or another, right? When you have people celebrating what's normal as usually just sharing 4 or 5 human traits, what about the other 996? You know, I got a new purpose. I got a new thing. And so we're going to make more. We're going to make more films. We're going to make more TV. We have 2 things branching off from the movie. We're out Healing Heroes, the series, Squared Away Nation, the series. I'll be doing a reality show at the resort with the special needs families because like veterans, you want to talk about feeling isolated and fragmented and alone? Yeah. And both of those I have another project called Squared Away Nation. It's an app for veterans. Whole other story. Can't talk about yet, but everything is there to spark community, spark cohesion, spark collaboration. That's a legacy I can leave this life with.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you for giving me a chance to tell you.
Thank you. It's truly a privilege to be in your presence and holding your story and receiving it. And you are changing the world. Thank you for stepping into your purpose and connecting with your light so deeply.
And I want to say thank you for what you do. To step outside of Western medicine, to advocate, to bring this out. People, a lot of my friends in medicine have still disowned me, but now they're coming back. Oof, you're onto something. Yeah. Medical boards were certainly there was threatened like this is not, I don't care. So thank you for having the courage to do it. And thank you to your listeners because everybody that gets in and does this, it's a little bit more of the change and impact that I will say this. I've seen the worst of psychedelics as well. And I'm not talking about my personal experience. I've seen bad treatment centers. I've seen people go into their journey thinking if one dose is good, more is better.
That's it.
Like keep going back to the point of creating alternate realities of their childhood that change them because they become the person that would have existed if that reality was part of this one. And you got to have good people that are stewards of this, that are not just giving a drug, but administering a healing plan.
That's it. That's it. You said it. And that's the work that I'm doing is bringing in that educational piece, that piece of how do we administer healing and we're creating an academy just for this called the Conscious Physicians Psychedelics Academy starting in January. We need to be in touch, Charlie.
We need to be in touch because let me tell you, where I am right now, we have a great setup for a great call to action at the end of this movie. And obviously it's gonna be around mental health and everything. I need to help direct people to where to go that are responsible, how to get in. I've seen some treatment centers that no,
We have to. And as I'm helping the state of New Mexico with the Psilocybin Medical Act.
probably know one of my great friends. So Keith Harris lives there, and he has been
Oh,
so. You know
Harris!
him?
He's my neighbor.
Oh my God, I love Keith. So his son Tim is how we got to know each other through Jesse at Heroic Hearts, right? And so he lines me up with Keith because of the resort. I meet Tim, love him, and then I fall in love with Keith, right? Oh my God, this is
They're
awesome.
they're incredible humans. And
Yes,
as you were talking, Charlie, it kept coming up like veterans, first responders, children with disability. I'm like, Keith Harris Foundation. Keith Harris Family Foundation.
right. Yes. In
Of
fact, I'll be
course.
seeing him. I'll be seeing him on the 8th. We'll be in San Francisco at a gala together. Yeah. Just starting 2 weeks ago, we were at the Balloon Festival in Albuquerque. Yeah.
We were there too. We live literally probably point 2 miles from each other. We
Oh
walk to
my
each other's
gosh.
homes.
Okay. So again, here's the deal. My rule to myself is when serendipity happens, you've got to open your eyes, your ears, and your heart and your brain because there's a reason, right? So let's figure that out.
Let's
I
figure
think I
that
already
out.
know, but let's continue figuring it
Let's
out.
continue figuring. I have things. If I didn't have to go to the next interview, I would stay on for another hour. We'd be talking.
Right, right, right.
It's such a pleasure, Charlie. And
Same.
Mason, thank you for being here too. To be continued.
Thanks so